It's Cuban time, right? Thank you. All right, so, uh, Doria. Okay, we're going to start. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. My name is Maria Elvira Salazar, and I represent District Number 27 in Florida, home of millions of Hispanic Americans, many of whom are undocumented. Unfortunately, once again, we have a major crisis at the border. And once again, the Hispanic community is being used on both sides of that border. And why do I say that? Because we have human traffickers on one side, the cartels, the coyotes, who are promising false hopes to migrants who want to come to the United States. On the other side, we have the Washington politicians playing games with those who are here looking to gain some type of legality. 48 hours ago, I was in El Paso, Texas, with many of my colleagues, and we saw it firsthand. The heartless coyotes selling the hope that gaining asylum is easy, and that President Biden will open the doors for everyone that wants to come in. In the meantime, our girls are being raped, and children are being trafficked for labor and for sex. Yes, unfortunately, it's a very bad expression, child sex trafficking, which is one of the fastest growing crimes in the world, and it has a very large market in the U.S. border, at the U.S. border. Unfortunately, this mess is capturing the country's attention. In the meantime, my Democrat colleagues have presented an immigration reform law that they know will never become law in the way that it has been written. As Hispanics, we don't want any more false promises, false hopes. We want for those 11 million undocumented who are here in the country to be treated with dignity. But this will not happen. It will not happen if we don't stop the madness at the border with real permanent solutions, not executive orders. We have gathered here this morning as a group of Republican congressmen and congresswomen to demonstrate that no party holds a monopoly on compassion. We Republicans, we're compassionate too. We want to give dignity to those who have lived here among us for years, and to those who want to come into this country, but they have to follow the law. That's why we're here to announce the Dignity Plan. Dignity, which includes protecting the border with the best technology available, giving permanent protection to dreamers, reforming the asylum laws so that asylum is only granted to those who truly need it, and providing a 10-year dignity path for those who have lived in the shadows here in the United States, those who have American kids, who have paid taxes, who have not committed a crime, and who want to continue to be here. And then after those 10 years, we want to give them a path to redemption. We don't want to give them special treatment. We want to give them dignity. And as I said, there is a path to redemption after that, where they can get right with the law and join the same line as everyone else. As I said, for the last 35 years, the Hispanic American community has been given false hopes and half-truths. We're not pawns, we're people. And we're here today to invite our colleagues on the Democratic side from across the aisle and across the country, especially those who can make a difference. Filemon Vela, Henry Cuellar, Vicente Gonzalez, Raul Grijalva, Sylvia Garcia, Lucille Roybal Allard, Lou Correa, Pete Aguilar, Jim Costa, Raul Ruiz, Juan Vargas, and Veronica Escobar on the other side of the aisle to come to the table and help us finish this business and help us write this law. We extend, as I said, our collective hand in bipartisan cooperation to fix this once and for all. And it's an honor for me to count and to be part of this important coalition of Republicans supporting this plan, especially Senator Lindsey Graham, who is here with us. Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. I met with Maria last week, and all my colleagues behind me, some are new, most I know. I've been trying to solve this immigration problem since 2006, and the goals are the same, right? To not have 11 million illegal immigrants 20 years from now, secure the border, deal with visa overstays, replace a chain migration immigration system with a merit-based immigration system. For non-felons who've been here for decades, allow them to stay in the United States on our terms. English proficiency exam must be passed. Pay a fine for the law you broke. Wait patiently for at least a decade. Then get in the back of the line of the country where you came from. Seems always to me to have been a real viable solution. The problem is that we find ourselves in a situation where there is no way forward until you control the border. The Biden administration changed Trump policies not thinking it through. It took 4 years for President Trump to bring order to chaos at the border, but he did. The Remain in Mexico policy was the biggest breakthrough in terms of asylum abuse since I've been dealing with this issue. People by the thousands come to our country, they put one foot inside the United States, they claim asylum. Under the old system, they would be processed, released in America with a court date 4 or 5 years in the future, because $1.5 million asylum claim backlog. They would never show up. That created an endless wave of asylum abuse. President Trump said, you're going to wait in Mexico to your court date, and that shut it off. Nobody's going to pay $10,000 to come from Guatemala to stay in Mexico for 4 or 5 years. Also, the Trump administration got the Triangle Nations, El Salvador, Guatemala, to Honduras, to allow asylum claims to be made in the country of origin so you don't have to come to the border. Those two things broke asylum abuse. The wall did matter, and here's what's happened that makes a solution impossible under these circumstances. We withdrew from the Triangle Agreement. We withdrew from the Remain in Mexico policy. We stopped construction on the wall. Democrats introduced a bill that's large on legalization and soft on border security. And here we are with no place to go. If you were really serious about solving the immigration problem, you wouldn't have put us all in this box. They're not serious. They're serious about one thing, undoing what Trump did, whether it makes sense or not. So the Republican Party has been divided on this issue. We have passed 2 bills out of the Senate with over 65 votes that come to the House and go nowhere, usually because of Republican resistance. I think we're turning the corner as a party, but the main thing is the Democratic Party is going the other way. The Menendez bill was introduced not to solve immigration, but to appease the hard left who literally believes in open borders. So here's our problem right now. The Biden administration has created chaos where there was order, and the only way we'll ever be able to sit down with our Democratic colleagues is for us to regain control of the border. And I want to say without any hesitation, Biden has lost control of the U.S.-Mexican border. Until he regains control by implementing policies that work, it's going to be very hard to do the Dreamers or anybody else. Why? Because after the things I named, if you add to the list of inducements, legalizing anybody under these circumstances will lead to even more illegal immigration. So what we have to do is regain control of the border, get it in a calmer status, sit down with Democrats who will find the middle, and the president himself has to get involved. Once we regain control of the border, count me in for sitting down and doing what I've been doing for years, trying to find a workable solution. But until we control the border, that is impossible. To my colleagues behind me on the Republican House, I know this is difficult politics, but I want to assure you one thing. Most people are with you. 80% of this country, 70%, have no problem with the DREAM Act population staying in the country because they've got nowhere else to go. They came here as kids. If you told them to go back to their country, they don't know where you're talking about. You've had people lived here for decades that have worked hard, assimilated into the country, and there's a place for them under our terms. Nobody wants felons or crooks. So the bottom line is, I want the Hispanic community to know that I understand the nature of the problem, that there's a solution out there, but there will be no solution as long as we lose control of the border. So if you're serious about solving the immigration problem, you will be serious about changing our laws on asylum. You will finish building the wall where it makes sense. You will restore the remaining Mexico policy. You will go back into the treaties with the Triangle countries, because that will lead to the calmness at the border we need to find a solution here in Washington. So to my Republican House colleagues, Republicans are actually with you. I've been dealing with this for a long time. When you ask the Republican primary electorate, would you support a pathway to citizenship for illegal immigrants who are non-felons if you first secure the border? It's about 70%, 65% if they have to learn the language, pay a fine, and get back to the line, and you secure the border so it never happens again. I think those numbers are still there, but you've lost us as a party, because none of us can go back home and say it's now time to embrace legalization of illegal immigrants while the border is completely in chaos. Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Good morning, folks. Let me just reiterate what Maria Elvira mentioned, and actually what Senator Graham mentioned. We keep hearing about this crisis on the border, and there is a crisis on the southern border. But what does that actually mean? And Maria Elvira mentioned what it means is that because of the reckless rhetoric and the irresponsible policies done by executive order of this president, what it means is that now we are in essence funding human trafficking. What it means are increases in rapes of young girls. What it means is a human tragedy and a national security threat. I'm not going to get into details. You've all seen the reports about some of the national security threats that we are finding now also in this crisis on the southern border. And let's get very clear. Let's be very, like Senator Graham, I've been dealing with this issue for quite a number of years. The legislation that was presented, House and Senate, pushed by the Biden administration, has little to no chance of ever becoming law in its current form. So what is it going to take? You all know this is not rocket science. I'm not going to talk about details. We all know, those of us that have been involved in this issue, that there are certain things that for a long, long time have received bipartisan support, and that we could do in a bipartisan way, which is the only way to get this done. But it is very clear that the intention of the majority is not to solve the problem, but to perpetuate a problem, and now a problem that has created this crisis on the southern border. So, all that I am asking is for my colleagues, Democratic colleagues, to sit down in a nonpartisan way to actually find solutions to a crisis that is a humanitarian crisis, that is a national security crisis, and that we know that if there is goodwill, we could reach bipartisan solutions. If they are unwilling to do that, and if they continue to proceed on a party line basis, all that demonstrates is that after having created this crisis on the southern border, that the president has zero intention of actually doing anything to secure our borders, anything to secure our national security. They're absolutely committed to doing nothing to help the millions of folks who are living in the shadows, who I believe deserve a chance to earn a way to get right with the law And what they're saying to them is, no, we're going to play politics and we're not going to get it done. Sit down, let's negotiate. We can reach a bipartisan solution to this crisis that has been made so much worse by reckless policies, reckless rhetoric by President Biden and his administration. Sí, muy brevemente. Muy brevemente. Se habla mucho de esta crisis en la frontera del sur, y es una crisis, pero no es una crisis política, es una crisis humanitaria. Estamos hablando de miles de niñas que están siendo violadas en el transcurso de tratar de llegar a la frontera del sur. Estamos hablando de que ahora los Estados Unidos, por esta política y retórica de la administración del presidente Biden, ha promovido, está financiando a los coyotes y a los carteles de tráfico humano en la frontera sur de los Estados Unidos. Eso es lo que ha hecho la política y la retórica del presidente Biden. Y nosotros lo que estamos diciendo son dos cosas. Lo que yo estoy diciendo son dos cosas. Número uno, hay apoyo bipartidista para resolver este problema. Pero eso requiere sentarse a negociar. Y número dos, muy importante, la legislación propuesta por la Casa Blanca, todos ustedes en la prensa saben que no tiene el más mínimo chance de convertirse en ley. Es una farsa, es una burla a nuestras comunidades. Y por eso nosotros estamos pidiendo y exigiendo al presidente de los Estados Unidos y a los demócratas que se sienten a negociar, a llegar a una solución para parar esta crisis, que es la crisis que se ha hecho mucho más aguda por la retórica y la política de este presidente. Y lo que hace falta es negociar, sentarse a hablar y negociar en buena fe, porque hasta ahora es solamente jarabe de pico y está causando unas tragedias realmente difíciles de entender en la frontera sur de los Estados Unidos.
I'm Dan Newhouse from the state of Washington. My first request, por favor, no dame la pregunta a hablar en español, okay? Thank you, Maria, for letting me be here with you this morning. I truly appreciate someone such as her diving headfirst into this very, very important issue, because it's no secret, our immigration laws truly are broken, and we need to have meaningful improvements. We need to secure our borders. Reforming our broken system has been a priority of mine since I came to Congress. From providing a legal status to our important guest workers for agriculture, to providing that certainty to the DACA individuals in this country, which in my district I have very, very many of them. But that's, at the same time, one only has to look at our southern border right now, at the thousands of illegal crossings that are happening. Over 200,000 just since the first of the year alone. We have to strengthen our border to ensure that the men and women who protect our nation have the resources they need to do their jobs. The best way is to reform our immigration processes, to eliminate opportunities to work without legal status. Simply put, we need to enforce our laws. Ms. Salazar's proposal, it's an excellent beginning to do this. This country was built on immigrants. All of us come from immigrants. We welcome them into our communities. In my home district in Central Washington, immigrants are small business owners, they're scientists, they're teachers, they're veterans, neighbors, and in many cases, members of our own families. They contribute to our history, to our culture. But we must make sure that they are able to come here legally and remain legally. We all know there's a lot of problems to solve here. This proposal recognizes the contributions of immigrants, strengthens our national security, bolsters our local economies and small businesses, and proves that Republicans stand ready to do the responsible thing and are serious about what we have to do. So thank you, Maria, for your willingness to lead on this issue. And all of us have a responsibility to be engaged and solve this problem once and for all. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
I'm Fred Upton from Michigan. We have a broken system, and it's been broken for a long time. You know, President Trump urged us in the Congress to do a job, to do our job, to get it done, to send him a bill that would be bipartisan, that could strengthen the border and really do the right things. And Congress failed. And here we are today with a real crisis at the border. What Lindsay said, he was right on. What Maria's trying to do in terms of laying out a framework where, in fact, we could get bipartisan support. We could pass a bill in the House and the Senate, and we could get that bill to the president for him to sign. Let's take up the challenge that President Trump gave us. Let's deliver, and let's help the people that are here with a pathway that really makes sense. So thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks, Maria, for your leadership.
Thank you. I'm Blake Moore from the 1st District of Utah, and I'd like to also just thank, before anything gets drowned out with my comments, that Representative Salazar's leadership on this. But there's been one thing that's led her and gotten so many of us here is her compassion on this issue. She mentioned it in her comments, and it's something that is very, very authentic, and it's inspiring, and something that I'm very excited to be a part of. I'll start my comments with what I will also end with. And in order to solve this issue, we have to be able to have productivity over partisanship. There's simply no other way to do this. And I'm proud that America has one of the most generous immigration systems in the world. Hardworking individuals from across the globe seek to come to the United States to share in our opportunities, equalities, and freedoms. Our tradition of welcoming legal immigrants has allowed America to grow culturally and economically into the dynamic nation that we are today. Immigration reform is a great opportunity for collaboration, and I believe in aspirational, pro-growth, and inclusive proposals that will both secure and strengthen our country. Any bills considered by Congress should offer functional and compassionate solutions while protecting American jobs. I'm proud to join with my colleagues to craft common sense, workable reforms that streamline the guest worker visa process, strengthen our border security, support the American workforce, and more. We need to achieve the critical balance of welcoming legal immigrants while protecting American jobs, and I'm confident we can get there. Thank you, Congresswoman Salazar, again, for leading the way with compassion and putting productivity over partisanship. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for leading. She's going to be a great champion on this issue. We're so lucky to have her in conference to take this issue head on, and she's taken the initiative. There are two things that every single person ought to agree on. We are a nation of immigrants, and we're a nation of the rule of law. We're a nation of compassion, and we're a nation of the rule of law. And we need to stop treating those things like they're mutually exclusive. They're not mutually exclusive. In fact, without one, you cannot have the other. And that's the way we have to start viewing this. And the reason that we are here with a continued fractured immigration system is because you all know for too long there have been too many politicians that have played politics with this issue. We know what we need to do to fix it. All the proposals are laid out in Maria's plan. And I'm not sure what there is to disagree about that, but the reason we are here today is because you have too many people in this town that rather than getting 80% of something, they end up with 100% of nothing. And because of that, people's lives are suffering, migrants are put at risk at the border, and our nation continues to lack the security that we need. That's what this is about. It's about doing what we all do in our personal lives and our professional lives, come to the center, build consensus, find that which we agree on, and move forward rather than finding the issues we disagree on and perpetuating the gridlock. So I call on all my colleagues, stop playing politics with this. This is people's lives and our nation's security. And there's no reason why we can't fix this. So Maria, great job.
Thank you. I'm Burgess Owens. I wanted to echo those comments from Maria. My very first comment, from my first conversation with her as coming as freshman, was this issue. So it's one that's very, very important to all of us. Let me just say that Republican Party has always been the voice of the voiceless. 200 years ago, we stood against human trafficking. Today, we stand against human trafficking. As we come together with these ideas, we're gonna deal with dignity. We're gonna deal with second chances. We're gonna deal with fairness. All those things we brought together on our side. We're asking the Democratic Party to meet us halfway to have these conversations. And meanwhile, let's really look at what the problem is today. Human trafficking, my friends, is slavery. It's a loss of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness because somebody is getting profits from it. We have today, for those who don't understand what this looks like, 30% of the women and girls coming through this process are going to be raped. We can't stand by and let that happen. We have boys and girls as young as 6 to 7 years old being pushed into sex trafficking. We have mothers and fathers who put their child on this pathway with false hope, will never ever hear from their child again because they're going to die along the way. President Biden should be ashamed of himself. Ashamed. This was preventable. And to say that it's not happening now, it's not a disaster, is absolutely wrong. That's not what we deserve as we the people. We need to know the truth, my friends. There's people suffering, going through misery, trying to get to this country because they've been given false hope. President Biden, do us all a favor. Go to the border and see what you've done. Go to the border and witness the misery that's going on in our country today. No, this is not 1800s. The days of slavery are done. And we're going to make sure as a party we stand strongly for human rights, for dignity, for second chances, and for fairness. And I hope that the Democratic Party will put the priorities of our country over the priorities of getting votes in the next 2 to 4 years. American people deserve much more than that. Come together, let's get this thing done with, and give people the dignity they deserve to live in this great country and be proud to be Americans, but they decided they want to do that. Thank you, and thank you again, Mayor, for being such passionate about this process. Appreciate it.
Morning, I'm David Valadeo, California's 21st Congressional District. This isn't my first term in Congress, so I've experienced this from being in the majority and now in the minority. I can say that I'm truly frustrated with both sides. One of the Republicans years ago that signed on to the DREAM Act when there was only, I think, 3 of us at that time. And I was also one of the ones that signed on to a discharge petition against my own party. I think it's frustrating. I mean, as a person who grew up in a family of immigrants, in a community of immigrants, my family happens to be Portuguese, but we have the same problems as many of those across the world who have struggled to come to this country and find a legal way here. I think it's important for us to pass a piece of legislation that allows for a future flow of folks who want to come here legally, but we also have to address those who are here. And the piece of legislation that's going to be passed this week, the DREAM Act, I agree, is going to have a struggle in the Senate. And I think if we had members of Congress who spoke this year like they did when they were in the minority and worked like they did when they were in the minority, I think we would have a piece of legislation that could get signed into law and we could actually solve some real problems. And I'm frustrated with that. And I think it's time that the same folks who stood alongside of me when I was taking on my own party need to step up and do the same thing when it's their party dropping the ball. We've got too many people and too many lives on the line for us to just stand here and do nothing. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate the leadership of the group behind me, especially Maria, coming in as a new member of Congress and taking this tough issue on. So thank you all.
Thank you. To you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'd like to thank all of you for gathering on the 42nd anniversary of the first date with my wife today. I want to share with you a story that if not careful you'll miss. 75% of the Utah House delegation from Utah was here today at this press conference. That's no small thing. Over a decade ago, Utah leaders, religious leaders, political leaders, educational leaders, and business leaders came together and created a document called the Utah Compact. If you're not familiar with it, I'd encourage you to take a look at it. It told us to do exactly what we're doing today. Solve these problems, keep families together, and be compassionate. I'm proud to represent Utah and be here today with my other colleagues. Thank you all for being here today.
Good morning. I'm Claudia Tenney from New York's 22nd District, and I just wanted to say thank you to Representative Salazar for her courage and her tenacity in bringing this very difficult issue forward. It's something we need to discuss and we need to talk about. She's trying to find a balance between valuing citizenship and making sure that we preserve citizens already in this country, but allowing new citizens to come in with dignity and with integrity. I really give her credit for that. I know this has been a tough issue, but I'm really disappointed that the Democrats have not chosen another path to having meetings and hearing from people like Representative Salazar and others before shoving through legislation. It reminds me of my horrible days in Albany where we never had committee meetings with any meaningful discussion. I think that's what we need to do now, and I think that's what Representative Salazar and everybody here would like to see, a real discussion with real solutions, not partisan rhetoric and not partisan bills that haven't been weighed in by everyone. We need to treat these people with dignity and with care. They're valuable to our communities. I like the ideas that Maria's put forth. I say that I appreciate what Senator Graham said, that we're just having a knee-jerk reaction. Just because Trump did it, we've got to do it another way. And I think that it's important that we have conversations and we have meetings and we actually discuss these once again. We did have some solutions in the 115th Congress where I served before, but they never made it anywhere. And I think it's time now. We are well past due. This is a really vital humanitarian issue that is brewing before us, and many people who have witnessed it would like to see a solution, as we all do. And I applaud and congratulate Representative Salazar. She is tough, she's tenacious, and she's courageous. This is not an easy issue, but she's going to be a real leader. Really proud to be a friend and a supporter of hers. Thanks so much.
Hello, my name is Carlos Jimenez. I represent Florida's Congressional District number 26. I'm a neighbor of both Maria and Mario, and I want to thank Maria for taking on the reins of this very difficult subject, and also Mario for the years that he's worked on this issue. And unfortunately, we're still talking about this issue. I was privileged, along with Maria and other members of the congressional delegation, Republican congressional delegation, to visit El Paso, Texas a couple days ago, and I can tell you there is a crisis at the border. And before we can start to find the solutions that we need to find for America and the roughly 12 million undocumented immigrants that are in our country, we need to secure the border. And that's the first thing that we have to do. And so I call on the Biden administration to take the steps necessary to secure the border, reinstitute some of the policies that were put in place by the previous administration. Not everything that was put in by the previous administration needs to be dismantled. Those policies were working, the border was under control, and we could handle the situation. We need to get back to that and, frankly, do better. We need to control the border, we need to secure the border. But finally, after we do that, then we can talk about what we need to do to bring dignity to the 12 million people, undocumented immigrants that we have in this country. And there is, I believe, bipartisan support for a number of the issues. You know, who wants to have 12 million people living in the shadows? Nobody. And we need to bring them out of the shadows. And I think a lot of Maria's ideas are good. Some of them are new, but some of them are old. And I know that we can work with some Democrats to bring this to fruition. But as people have said, we're trying to get to a 100% solution. It's got to be 100% my way. No, it's got to be 100% my way. Why don't we concentrate on what we all agree on and pass laws that will bring 12 million people out of the shadows, allow them to work, allow them to stay in the United States, allow them to pay taxes, and then we can work around the fringes on those things that we don't disagree. But we need to get this done. And so I want to thank Maria again for bringing this to light. We need to get this done. We need the other side to stop talking, and we need to start talking to each other so that we can resolve this problem for America, which is really what we need to get to. And so now I'll say some words in Spanish. Yo tuve el privilegio de estar en El Paso, Texas, hace dos días, viendo la situación que está sucediendo en la frontera de los Estados Unidos y México con todos los inmigrantes. Y hay una crisis en la frontera. Y tengo que decir que esas son las pólizas del presidente Biden que ha traído estas crisis. Tenemos que resolver la crisis en la frontera, tenemos que asegurar la frontera para que entonces podemos tener la discusión sobre lo que vamos a hacer sobre los inmigrantes que están, 12 millones de inmigrantes que están aquí en este país. Le tengo que dar gracias a María Salazar por tomar el liderazgo en este tema, y también a Mario Díaz-Balart, el congresista Mario Díaz-Balart, que ha estado tratando de resolver este problema por años aquí en el Congreso. Nosotros podemos llegar a un tipo de acuerdo con los demócratas. Todo el mundo está de acuerdo que 12 millones de personas que están ahora indocumentadas, que están en la sombra, tienen que salir a la luz, tienen que darle un paso para que puedan trabajar, pagar impuestos, ser miembros de nuestra sociedad en una manera abierta. Y estamos dispuestos a hacer eso. Vamos a concentrarnos en lo que estamos en acuerdo y poner por un rato las diferencias que tenemos. Eso es lo que merecen nuestros ciudadanos, y eso también es lo que merecen los 12 millones de indocumentados que no están aquí. Y muchas gracias.
All right, so with this we end the English part. I just wanted to do it so the English media folk don't have to go through the Spanish. So if you allow me, then we're going to concentrate in Spanish, and just let me know who you are. So then we will start, I will say my remarks in Spanish if that is what you want, and then we can give you sound bites, whatever you need. I think Mario and Carlos, they have spoken. If you need something else from them, I asked them to stay. Okay, so my English folks, if you need any other more bites from me or from them, I will have to do that after we do the Spanish part. Is that okay? All right, great. All right, so gracias a todos por acompañarnos en el día de hoy. Mi nombre es María Elvira Salazar. Yo represento el distrito número 27 de la Florida, donde residen millones y millones de hispanos americanos, incluyendo muchos sin papeles o hermanos indocumentados. Lamentablemente, una vez más, tenemos una crisis en la frontera y nuestra comunidad hispana está siendo utilizada. Por un lado, tenemos a los traficantes de personas, a los carteles de drogas, a los coyotes, que le crean falsas esperanzas a los inmigrantes que quieren llegar a Estados Unidos. Por el otro lado, tenemos a los políticos de Washington, los que están en este Capitolio, que juegan con nuestra comunidad para mantenerse en el poder y para ganar votos. Hace apenas 48 horas, yo y otro grupo de colegas republicanos estuvimos en El Paso, Texas, y vimos la crisis con nuestros propios ojos. Coyotes canallas que están vendiendo la falsa ilusión de obtener un asilo político fácil, y que el presidente Biden ha abierto las fronteras para que todo el mundo que quiera pueda entrar. Mientras tanto, nuestros niños están siendo traficados, nuestras niñas están siendo violadas, y cuando digo traficado es la traficación, el trabajo forzado y la explotación sexual. Como estoy diciendo, es una palabra muy dura, pero es así. El tráfico sexual infantil es uno de los crímenes con el crecimiento más rápido en el mundo, y desgraciadamente tiene un gran mercado en la frontera de los Estados Unidos y México. Mientras que esta crisis está capturando la atención del país, mis colegas demócratas han presentado una reforma migratoria que saben que nunca se va a convertir en ley de la manera que está escrita. Escúchenme bien, nunca se va a convertir en ley de la manera que está escrita, porque ni siquiera tienen los votos dentro de su propio partido demócrata. Esta es la realidad. Nosotros como hispanos estamos hartos de las falsas promesas y queremos que esos 11 millones de indocumentados sean tratados con dignidad. Pero eso no va a suceder si no detenemos el desastre en la frontera con soluciones reales y permanentes, no con órdenes ejecutivas de cualquier presidente. Nos hemos reunido aquí esta mañana con un grupo de congresistas republicanos que estuvieron detrás de mí durante la conferencia de prensa en inglés, para demostrar que ningún partido político tiene el monopolio de la compasión, ninguno. Los republicanos también somos compasivos y también queremos darle dignidad a los que están aquí. Y los que quieren venir, también darle dignidad a los que quieren venir, pero tienen que venir a través de las leyes y cumpliendo la ley. Por eso estoy aquí, para incluir y para explicarle a todos ustedes lo que se llama el Plan Dignidad, para después convertirse en ley. Asegura la frontera con la mejor tecnología que hay disponible. Le da protección permanente a los niños Dreamers, los soñadores, los DACA. Va a reformar las leyes de asilo para que no se otorguen a quienes no lo necesitan, sino a los que no necesitan en realidad el asilo político. Y le da un programa de dignidad por 10 años hacia la legalidad para todos aquellos que están viviendo en este país durante más de 5 años. Esa gente que tienen hijos americanos, que han pagado los impuestos, que no han cometido ningún crimen y que llevan en este país años y años ayudando al sistema económico porque el sistema les permitió quedarse. Para esa gente hay que darle dignidad. Esto no es ningún tratamiento especial. Lo único que queremos es darle dignidad, como acabo de decir. Y para los que quieren después obtener una ciudadanía norteamericana, también hay un camino que se llama el camino de la redención, que pueden acogerse a la ley, pagar una multa, corregir los errores del pasado y ponerse en fila. Durante los últimos 35 años, la comunidad hispana ha sido engañada con falsas esperanzas. Nosotros no somos peones, nosotros somos personas. Y es tiempo de terminar toda esta farsa y de llegar a una solución permanente. Por eso yo invito en este momento a todos los que están conmigo y al otro lado, a los demócratas, para que el plan Dignidad sea un plan que se logre con la ayuda de los demócratas. Estamos extendiendo nuestra mano a todos los colegas de una manera bipartidista para que se sienten y nos ayuden a terminar este tema migratorio de una vez y para siempre. All right, so that's in Spanish. Now you tell me what is it that you need if you want to get sound bites.
One more person here. Go.
Good, yes, right here. Well, maybe the English part. Absolutely, and thank you for coming. And I know that we were voting, but let me give you the opportunity to speak to some of the news media.
Thank you, Maria. I'm proud to stand with my freshman colleague and all other Republican members who are looking for solutions on immigration. We are a nation of immigrants. This is an issue that is personal to me as well. And it's frustrating to see some of the proposals that are being put up on my colleagues on the other side of the aisle that are not fully thinking through the problems, that are not addressing some of the border security and enforcement issues that have caused the crisis that we're dealing with right now, with just a incredibly large increase in numbers of folks coming over. So I'm proud to support efforts like the Farm Work Modernization Act that combine stabilization with enforcement mechanisms like E-Verify, and also proud to support my colleagues' efforts to have both a dignified approach that recognizes we're a nation of immigrants, that offers pathways, but also has border security and enforcement mechanisms that make sure that we're not creating an additional moral hazard, that we're not emphasizing what we're seeing right now with policies that wink and nod at approval processes and opportunities, while at the same time causing the incentives to occur that are leading to the challenges we're facing right now. So, I think it's high time for the Republican Party to take a leading stance on this, to recognize that we're a nation of immigrants, that we need to have that beacon of hope and freedom continue to stay lit, while recognizing the inherent dignity of those who are making efforts, but creating pathways that will be ultimately beneficial.
Thank you very much for coming. Yes, thanks. All right, so you let me know what you want to do. If you want to get individual sound bites, if you want to get it from the rest of my colleagues, I follow your instructions. I did for 35 years what you guys are doing, so I know exactly what you need, so let me give it to you.
A quick question in English.
Sure.
Can I ask, the Democrats are going to bring forward these two bills on Thursday, tomorrow, one dealing with the Dreamers and TPS, and another with agriculture workers as well. Are you encouraging, or do you believe that Republicans should vote against those? I know that leadership is whipping against those. And what's your
Listen, and I'm sure that I can speak for my colleagues, we are part of the Hispanic community. We want to give dignity, and we want to give a path to citizenship to the Dreamers. Absolutely, that has bipartisan support. And I know that the agricultural part also has bipartisan support. I'm talking about the people that are in the middle, the people that do not have DACA, people that do not have TPS. What happens with the DAPA, with the parents of those kids? Those kids that, think about it. If you are the parent of a DACA child, you are in a position where you have to abandon your child in order to save them. I don't ever want to be in that position. So we have to bring dignity to those who fall in the middle. We're talking about 11 plus, people that have not committed crimes, people that have American children or that have DACA children, people who have paid taxes and have been here for more than 5 years. Dignity to those people, but at the same time, this will never happen if we do not seal the border and control the border. And on top of that, It may pass in the House, the DACA and the agricultural. What happens in the Senate? It may not pass in the Senate. So that means that they don't have anything again. And that is my concern. You cannot be playing with people this way. We're not pawns, we're people. And unfortunately, my Democrat colleagues have been promising for 35 years that they're going to do an immigration reform law, that the Dems are the good ones and the Republicans are the bad ones. But that doesn't work that way. It's not true, because the empirical evidence shows completely the opposite. Let's sit at the table. Let's negotiate for the benefit of 11 million people that need dignity.
So those two bills, you will not be supporting them?
I will be supporting them, absolutely. And I'm sure that many more colleagues, and they can speak for themselves, will be supporting DACA and AG. I'm talking what happens with the other millions and millions of people that do not fall into those two categories. So then, all right, so well, English, are we okay with English? Are we?
Okay, madam. Do individuals.
So we're going to do individuals then now? Okay, thank you. Whomever you need, let's go. Yes, thank you. Tanto que hemos buscado estrellas.
Otra conferencia acá, nos podemos mover entre
Donde usted diga.
Vamos a hacerlo aquí, vamos a hacerlo aquí. Que están haciendo otra conferencia de prensa.
Entonces, get my pen.